Welcome to Calming Bedtime Journeys channel. Tonight we step quietly into a world where winter stretches long across empty roads and where sleep is not something you take for granted, but something you negotiate carefully with the cold itself. What would it feel like to close your eyes knowing there is no roof above you, no walls to hold back the wind, and no certainty that morning warmth will come? You might imagine a quiet, peaceful rest beneath the stars, but the truth is far more complicated, shaped by frost fear and endurance. So before you settle into the story, take a second to like the video and hit subscribe, and as you prepare to follow this journey, share your location and local time in the comments below. It's always fascinating to see where in the world these quiet nights are being heard. Now dim the lights. You walk along a narrow winter road, the ground beneath your boots hardened by the days of frost and scattered snow. The air feels sharp against your face, carrying a stillness that seems almost too complete. Each breath you draw is cool and dry, filling your chest before drifting out in a faint cloud. The daylight has already begun to fade. Though it feels like it never fully arrived, the road stretches ahead without promise, no inn, no village lights, only distance. A widely accepted understanding of medieval travel suggests us that most journeys were planned carefully around known stopping points, especially in colder seasons. Yet reality often refused to follow plans. Delays, broken wagons, or poor weather could leave you far from shelter when night arrived, forcing you into choices that were never comfortable and rarely safe. You feel the cold first in your fingers. Even through rough gloves, the sensation creeps inward slow and steady. Your hands tighten slightly as you walk, as if motion alone can keep warmth alive. The leather straps of your pack press against your shoulders, familiar but heavier now, as fatigue begins to settle into your body. The wind shifts. It does not howl, it simply moves, brushing past you with a quiet persistence that finds every small opening in your clothing. You pull your cloak closer without thinking. The fabric offers some resistance, but not enough to stop the deeper chill that seems to come from the air itself. A small sound breaks the silence. Somewhere beyond the road, perhaps in the trees or low brush, something moves. It is not loud, but it is enough. Your attention sharpens, your steps slow just slightly. Travellers in this period often remained alert to animals, especially in winter, when food was scarce and creatures grew bolder. Wolves, though not always as common as stories suggest, still carried a presence in the imagination of anyone travelling alone. You continue forward, there is no real choice. The sky deepens into a darker shade and the last pale light begins to withdraw from the land. Snow along the roadside reflects what remains, giving the ground a faint glow that helps you see where you place your feet. It is not enough for comfort, it's just enough to continue. You begin to think about sleep. Not as rest, as survival. A lesser-known detail in medieval travel accounts reveals that many travellers did not expect to sleep deeply when outdoors in winter. Instead, they aimed for brief periods of rest, often interrupted, keeping the body moving or shifting to avoid the dangerous stillness that allowed cold to settle too deeply. Sleep was not an escape. It was something you approached with caution. You look for a place, not somewhere good, somewhere less bad. The road curves slightly, and ahead you notice a low rise of earth, perhaps shaped by old roots or stones beneath the surface. It offers a small break from the open wind, a place where the air might feel just a little less sharp. You move toward it, your boots crunching softly against the frozen ground. The smell of the air changes. It is subtle, but you notice it. A faint trace of earth, dry and quiet beneath the snow. There is also something else, a lingering scent of wood carried from somewhere distant. Perhaps a fire far beyond your reach, reminding you that warmth exists somewhere tonight. You stop. For a moment you simply stand there listening. The world feels vast and empty at the same time. No voices, no distant carts, only the soft movement of air and the quiet presence of the land around you. You lower your pack. The weight leaves your shoulders, slowly replaced by a different kind of awareness. Without movement, the cold becomes more noticeable. It presses in, no longer held back by the rhythm of walking. You shift your feet slightly, trying to keep some warmth alive in your legs. Historians continue to debate how often travellers truly slept without any form of shelter during harsh winters. Some records suggest it was avoided whenever possible, while others hint that it happened more frequently than written accounts admit. Survival often leaves fewer records than comfort. You begin to prepare. There's no routine that feels complete, only small actions that might help. You adjust your cloak, pulling it tighter around your body. You choose a position near the rise of earth, turning your back toward the direction of the wind. It is a simple choice, but it matters. You sit, the ground is cold immediately. The chill travels upward through your clothing, reminding you that the earth itself holds the memory of freezing nights. You shift again, placing part of your pack beneath you to create a small barrier. It is not much, but it is something. Your hands move slowly. You rub them together, then tuck them close to your body. The warmth returns only slightly enough to dull the sharpest edge of the cold. You listen again, letting your senses adjust to the new stillness. Sleep does not come easily. It hovers at a distance, waiting. A curious observation found in some medieval writings suggests that travellers often feared sleep in the cold not just for physical reasons, but for what it represented. To sleep too deeply was to risk losing awareness, to drift into a state where the body could no longer respond to danger or temperature. Rest was necessary, yet it was also something to approach carefully. You lean back slightly. Your body resists at first, unsure of this new stillness. Muscles that have been active for hours begin to release their tension slowly, reluctantly. The ground beneath you feels unwelcoming, but your body starts to accept it. Your breathing slows. In and out, steady. The air brushes against your face with each breath. Cool, but no longer shocking. You begin to notice smaller details. The faint crunch of distant frost shifting. The soft whisper of wind moving across the surface of the snow. The quiet rhythm of your own heartbeat. Time stretches. You are not fully asleep, not fully awake, just resting. Your mind drifts, but never stam. Each small sound pulls you back, each shift in the air reminding you where you are. This is not the deep, uninterrupted sleep you might imagine. It is lighter, fragile. You remain aware, always. The night settles around you, not suddenly but gradually, like a slow closing curtain. The cold remains constant, a quiet presence that shapes every moment. And as you sit there wrapped in what little protection you have, you begin to understand something that medieval travellers knew well. Sleep out here is not comfort, it is endurance. You remain where you are, your body still adjusting to the uneasy balance between rest and alertness. The ground beneath you has not softened, and the cold has not eased. If anything, it feels more present now, as though it has settled into the space around you with quiet determination. You draw a slow breath and begin to understand something simple but essential. Your clothing is your shelter. You shift slightly, becoming aware of each layer wrapped around your body. The rough wool tunic beneath your cloak holds a faint trace of warmth, not from the air, but from your own heat carefully trapped and guarded. The fabric feels coarse against your skin, but that roughness serves a purpose. It creates tiny pockets of air, slowing the loss of warmth into the freezing night. A widely accepted historical understanding tells us that wool was one of the most valuable materials for medieval travellers in cold climates. Unlike smoother fabrics, it retained heat even when damp, making it far more reliable than linen or lighter cloth. You do not think about this in technical terms, of course, but your body understands it instinctively. You pull your cloak tighter. The outer layer, heavier and thicker, shields you from the wind. It does not block it completely. No garment can do that. But it slows the movement of air enough to make a difference. You feel it in the way the cold presses less sharply against your chest, more like a steady weight than a biting force. Your hands move again. You tuck them beneath the folds of your cloak close to your ribs where the warmth is strongest. Fingers curl slightly, preserving what heat they can. The sensation is faint but noticeable, a small victory. The smell of your clothing becomes clearer as you sit still. Wool carries a quiet scent, earthy and familiar. Beneath it there are traces of travel, smoke from past fires, the dry note of dust from roads walked days before. These scents do not overwhelm. They linger gently, reminding you that everything you carry holds a memory of where you have been. A softer sound reaches you. Fabric brushing as you shift. The faint creak of leather from your belt or pack. In the absence of larger noise, these small details feel louder, more defined. Your senses sharpen not out of fear but out of necessity. A lesser-known detail from historical clothing practices reveals that layering was not just about warmth but about flexibility. Travellers often adjusted their garments throughout the day and night, loosening or tightening layers to manage body heat. Too much warmth could lead to sweat, and sweat in winter could become dangerous once it cooled. You consider this now. Your body has cooled since you stopped walking. The warmth you built through movement is fading, replaced by a slower, more fragile heat that depends entirely on what you wear. You shift your cloak slightly, ensuring it wraps around your legs as well as your torso. Your legs feel the cold differently, less sharp but more persistent. The ground draws heat downward, pulling it away without effort. You press your feet closer together, reducing the space between them. It is a small adjustment, but it helps. Every small decision matters here. Historians still debate how effective medieval winter clothing truly was in extreme conditions. Some accounts suggest that experienced travellers managed well enough, while others hint that even the best garments could only delay the inevitable discomfort. What remains clear is that clothing was not a luxury. It was survival itself. You lean forward slightly. Your head lowers and your chin tucks toward your chest. This position helps protect your face from the wind, but it also conserves warmth in a subtle way. The body closes in on itself, reducing exposure, holding heat closer to the core. Your breathing deepens again, slow, even. You notice the warmth of each breath against the fabric near your mouth, a brief return of heat that fades almost immediately. Still, it is something. You allow yourself to focus on it, the small cycle of warmth and coolness that repeats with each inhale and exhale. A curious observation found in some medieval records suggests that travellers sometimes wrapped parts of their clothing around their heads while sleeping, even at the risk of restricted breathing. The goal was simple: protect the face, preserve warmth. It was not always comfortable, but comfort was rarely the priority. You adjust your hood. Pulling it forward, you feel the darkness deepen slightly as your view narrows. The world becomes smaller, more contained. The sounds of the night remain, but they feel distant now, filtered through layers of fabric and quiet. You settle again, not fully relaxed, never fully relaxed. Your shoulders loosen just enough to ease the strain of holding tension. Muscles that have worked through the day begin to rest, though they remain ready to respond if needed. You are learning slowly how to exist in this balance. Between warmth and cold, between rest and alertness, the wind shifts once more. It brushes along the edge of your cloak, testing it, searching for openings. You feel it, but it does not reach you as deeply this time. The layers hold. Not perfectly, but enough. You close your eyes for a moment. Just a moment. Darkness settles behind your eyelids, softer than the night around you. Your mind begins to drift again, though not far. You remain aware of your body, of the ground beneath you, of the air moving quietly through the space. Sleep approaches slowly. It does not take you all at once. Instead, it touches you lightly, then pulls away as if testing whether it is safe to stay. You allow it, but only partially. You do not surrender completely. You cannot. A small tension remains in your body, a quiet readiness that keeps you from slipping too deeply into rest. It is not uncomfortable. It is necessary. Another subtle detail from historical understanding suggests that experienced travellers often developed an instinct for this kind of partial sleep. Their bodies learn to rest while still maintaining awareness, a skill shaped not by choice, but by repeated nights like this one. You shift slightly again. The movement is slow, deliberate, enough to change the pressure on your body to prevent stiffness from settling too deeply. The ground remains cold, but your position feels more manageable now. Your hands, still tucked close, retain a hint of warmth. Your feet pressed together feel less exposed. Your cloak wrapped tightly holds what heat it can. You begin to understand the quiet truth of this moment. There is no single solution, no perfect way to stay warm. Only a series of small, careful choices that together allow you to endure the night. The cold does not leave, but it does not take everything. And as you sit there wrapped in layers that serve as your only shelter, you feel a subtle shift within yourself. Not comfort exactly, but acceptance. This is how you rest. This is how you survive. You remain seated for a while longer, your body gradually settling into a rhythm that feels almost sustainable. The cold still presses in from every side, but your awareness has changed. You're no longer reacting to each sensation. Instead, you begin to anticipate them. The ground matters more than you first thought. You shift your weight again, slowly lifting yourself just enough to feel the surface beneath you. It is uneven, shaped by the frozen soil and small stones hidden beneath a thin layer of snow. At first, it seemed like any other patch of earth. Now you realize that every detail carries meaning. A commonly accepted understanding of medieval travel emphasizes how important terrain selection was, even for brief stops. Travelers learned to read the land, quickly choosing places that reduced exposure to wind moisture and hidden hazards. A poor choice could mean far more than discomfort. It could mean real danger. You press your hand against the ground. Cold, immediate. But there is something else. The surface here feels slightly raised compared to the surrounding area. That small elevation matters. It keeps you from direct contact with deeper snow that might melt beneath your body heat and then refreeze, drawing warmth away faster. You adjust your position. Carefully, you angle your body so that your back rests against the low rise of earth. It is not a wall, but it offers resistance to the wind. You notice the difference almost immediately. The air no longer moves as freely behind you, and that alone makes the space feel more contained. A faint sound reaches you. Snow shifting somewhere nearby, not falling, just settling. It reminds you that the landscape itself is not still even when it appears to be. Beneath the quiet surface, things move slowly, responding to temperature and time. You look around again. Your eyes have adjusted to the darkness, allowing you to make out shapes where before there was only shadow. Low bushes partially buried. A few scattered rocks. Nothing that offers real shelter, but enough to break the emptiness of the land. A lesser-known detail from travel accounts suggests that even minimal natural features were highly valued by travelers. A small dip in the ground, a cluster of stones, or a fallen tree could provide just enough protection to make a difference through the night. You consider moving. Just a few steps, just to check. You rise slowly, feeling stiffness in your legs as you stand. The cold has settled into your joints, making movement less fluid than before. You take a careful step forward, then another, scanning the ground as you go. There is a shallow depression nearby. Not deep, but noticeable. Snow has gathered there, forming a softer surface compared to the exposed ground where you sat before. You hesitate. Softer does not always mean better. Snow can insulate, but it can also draw heat away if it begins to melt. Historians still argue about how often travelers deliberately use snow as insulation versus avoiding it entirely. Some suggest that packed snow, when managed carefully, could provide a barrier against colder ground beneath. Others believe that direct contact with snow was usually avoided unless no other option existed. You crouch down. Your hand presses lightly into the snow. It compacts under your touch, firm but not solid. You imagine lying there, your body weight pressing deeper, your heat slowly changing its structure. It might work for a while. Or it might make things worse. You stand again. No, not here. You return to your original spot where the ground is harder but more predictable. There is a certain comfort in that predictability, even if it comes with its own discomfort. You lower yourself back down, adjusting your cloak once more as you settle. The smell of the air shifts slightly. A faint dryness rises from the exposed earth, mixing with the cleaner scent of snow nearby. It is subtle, but it grounds you, reminding you of the difference between surfaces that hold moisture and those that resist it. You place your pack more carefully this time. Instead of simply sitting on it, you adjust it to support part of your side, creating a slight barrier between your body and the ground. It is not perfect, but it reduces direct contact. You feel the difference almost immediately. Small improvements, they matter. A curious note found in some historical descriptions suggests that experienced travellers often spent more time choosing where to rest than actually resting. The decision itself was part of survival, requiring observation, patience, and a willingness to move even when tired. You begin to understand why. Your body wants stillness, it wants relief, but the land demands attention first. Only after you have read it, adjusted to it, and made your choices can you allow yourself to rest even briefly. The wind brushes past again. Softer now, or perhaps you are simply better positioned. Your back remains shielded by the rise of earth, and your whole body feels slightly more protected than before. It is not warmth exactly, but it is less exposure. You draw your knees closer. This time you are more deliberate. Your posture becomes compact, reducing the surface area exposed to the air. Your cloak wraps around your legs more effectively, creating a small pocket where warmth can gather. Your hands remain tucked. Your head lowers slightly. Your body becomes smaller. Another subtle detail from historical observation suggests that body positioning played a significant role in conserving heat. Travellers instinctively adopted postures that minimized exposure, often curling inward to preserve warmth around vital areas. You feel this now, not as a theory, but as a necessity. Your breathing slows again, settling into a steady rhythm that matches the quiet of the night. Each inhale feels measured, each exhale controlled. You're no longer simply reacting to the cold. You're working with it, adjusting your body and surroundings to reduce its impact. The ground beneath you remains firm, cold but stable. You shift once more, just slightly, ensuring that no part of your body remains pressed too long in one position. Pressure leads to discomfort. Discomfort leads to movement. And movement, when controlled, helps maintain circulation. You listen. The night has not changed, but your perception of it has. The sounds feel more familiar now, less startling. The distant movement of air, the faint settling of snow, the quiet presence of the land itself. You are part of it now, not separate. A final observation from historical understanding suggests that survival in such conditions often depended less on strength and more on awareness. Those who adapted quickly to their surroundings, who read the land and responded to it, had a greater chance of enduring the night. You settle into stillness once more. Not completely still, never completely still, but balanced. Your chosen ground holds you imperfect but sufficient. The rise behind you shields you just enough, your pack supports you slightly, your posture protects you carefully. There is no comfort here, but there is stability, and as your body begins to accept this arrangement, you feel a quiet shift within yourself. Not relief, but something close to it. A sense that for now you have done what you can. The rest is waiting and enduring. You remain where you are, your body now shaped to the ground, your senses stretched quietly into the night. The cold is not eased, but your awareness of it has softened into something more manageable. It is no longer a sudden shock. It is a constant presence, steady and patient. Your attention turns to something else now. Fire. Not the kind that warms a room or fills a hearth, but something smaller, uncertain, and difficult to trust. The idea of it lingers in your mind, not as comfort, but as possibility. You glance around again. The land offers little. A few low branches, sparse brush. Nothing that promises an easy flame. Still the instinct remains. Even a small fire could change the night, if only for a short while. A well-accepted historical observation notes that travellers often carried basic tools for fire starting, though success depended heavily on conditions. Damp wood, strong wind, or simple exhaustion could make the task nearly impossible. Fire was never guaranteed, even for those who knew how to make it. You reach toward your pack. Your hands move slowly, careful not to expose them to the air for too long. You open the flap just enough to feel inside, searching by touch rather than sight. The leather feels stiff from the cold, resisting slightly as you move it. You find what you are looking for. A small bundle, flint, steel, perhaps a bit of dry material saved for kindling. You hold it close, protecting it from the wind as you prepare. The air feels sharper now. Your cloak shifts slightly as you lean forward, creating a small pocket of space where your hands can work. It is not much, but it shields the motion just enough to give you a chance. You begin. Steel strikes flint. A brief spark, then darkness again. The sound is small, almost lost in the open air. You try again, adjusting the angle, focusing more carefully this time. Another spark, brighter but still too brief to catch. Your fingers stiffen. The cold makes precision difficult. Movements that would feel simple in warmth now require effort. You pause for a moment, bringing your hands closer to your body, letting them regain a trace of flexibility. A lesser-known detail found in some medieval accounts suggests that travellers often struggle to start fires in winter even with experience. Moisture in the air and materials combined with limited dexterity from cold made success uncertain. Fire was as much luck as skill in such conditions. You try once more. This time the spark lingers just slightly longer. It touches the kindling, a faint glow appearing before fading again. You watch it closely, your breath held, hoping it will take hold. It does not. You exhale slowly. Not frustration, just recognition. The night does not always allow this. You sit back, holding the materials in your hands, considering your options. You could keep trying, risking further exposure of your hands to the cold, or you could stop conserving what warmth you still have. A quiet understanding settles in. Fire in this moment is not certain enough to rely on. You place the materials back into your pack, carefully, deliberately. Another historical perspective suggests that experienced travellers often made decisions like this, quickly choosing when to abandon an effort that cost more energy than it returned. In winter, energy was as valuable as warmth itself. You draw your cloak closer again. Without fire, your world remains small, contained within fabric posture and careful stillness. Yet there is a certain clarity in that limitation. You know what you have, you know what you do not. The wind shifts again. You feel it along the edge of your cloak, but it does not reach you fully. Your position still holds. The rise of earth behind you continues to offer a small but meaningful barrier. A soft sound reaches you, perhaps a branch moving, perhaps something else. You listen, but do not move. Your body remains quiet, conserving heat, conserving strength. The sound fades, leaving only the steady presence of the night once more. A curious observation from scattered writing suggests, though, that even when fires were successfully lit, they were not always comforting. Small flames required constant tending, and their light could draw attention from others on the road. Warmth came with risk, and not all travellers chose to accept it. You consider that now. Even if your fire had taken hold, it would not have solved everything. It would have required fuel, attention, and exposure. It might have offered warmth, but it would also have changed your presence in the landscape. You remain still. The absence of fire becomes part of the night, just as natural as the cold itself. Your body adjusts again, relying on what it already has. Layers, position, awareness. Your breathing steadies, in and out, quiet. You notice the faint warmth that gathers within your cloak, held close by the stillness of your body. It is not strong, but it is consistent. Unlike fire, it does not flicker or fade, it depends only on you. Another interpretation offered by historians suggests that many travellers accepted the limits of their environment rather than trying to overcome them completely. Instead of seeking comfort, they focused on endurance, shaping their actions around what was possible. You feel that approach now. You are not trying to change the night. You are learning to exist within it. Your shoulders relax slightly, though never fully. Muscles remain ready even in rest. You shift just enough to maintain circulation, then settle again into your chosen position. The ground remains cold, the air remains still. The darkness remains complete. And yet there is a quiet balance forming. Not warmth, but stability. Not safety, but awareness. You close your eyes for a moment. Only a moment. The absence of fire does not leave you unprotected. It simply reminds you of the boundaries within which you must work. Your body, your clothing, your choices. These are your tools. Nothing more. Nothing less. A final note from historical understanding suggests that survival in such conditions often depended on restraint as much as action. Knowing when not to act, when to conserve, when to accept could make the difference between endurance and failure. You open your eyes again. The night continues unchanged. You remain within it, steady and aware, holding your warmth close. allowing your body to rest in careful measure. Fire may not be with you, but you are still here. And for now, that is enough. You remain in your chosen place, your body held in a careful balance between stillness and quiet adjustment. The cold continues its steady presence, never retreating, never rushing. It simply exists around you, shaping every decision you make. As your breathing settles into a slow and even rhythm, another awareness begins to rise. You are not alone on this road. At first, it is only a feeling, a subtle shift in the silence, a sense that the night carries more than just wind and distant movement. Then you hear it. Footsteps, faint, measured, approaching from somewhere behind the curve of the road you travelled earlier. You do not turn immediately. Instead, you listen, allowing your senses to gather more information before you move. A widely accepted understanding of medieval travel suggests that journeys were rarely made entirely alone for long distances, especially along known routes. Even in winter, travellers might cross paths, forming temporary groups for safety and shared endurance. The sound grows clearer, more than one set of steps. Slow, deliberate, like your own had been not long ago. You turn your head slightly now, just enough to see shapes emerging from the dim outline of the road. Figures, wrapped in cloaks, moving carefully. They do not rush. They are watching the ground just as you did. One of them lifts their head briefly, noticing you, then lowers it again as they approach. You remain still, not rigid but cautious. Encounters like this carry uncertainty. Companionship can bring warmth and shared effort, but it also introduces risk. Trust is never immediate on a road like this, especially in darkness. The figures slow as they near. One stops a short distance away, close enough to speak, but not close enough to intrude. Their voice, when it comes, is low and steady, shaped by the same cold air that surrounds you. A simple greeting, nothing more. You respond in kind. Brief, measured. Another traveller steps closer, glancing towards the rise of earth behind you, then toward the ground beside you. They understand what you have chosen. Not a good place, but a workable one. A lesser-known observation from travel accounts suggests that strangers often shared space during difficult nights without forming true bonds. Proximity did not always mean trust, but it allowed for shared survival in ways that solitude could not provide. They begin to settle nearby. Not too close at first. Each person chooses a spot, leaving small gaps between them. Packs are lowered, cloaks adjusted. Movements are slow, conserving energy, mirroring your own earlier actions. The air changes slightly. Not warmer, not yet, but fuller. The presence of others shifts the atmosphere in a way that is difficult to describe. Sound carries differently. The quiet is no longer empty. You listen as they move. Fabric brushing. A quiet exhale. The faint sound of someone rubbing their hands together. These small details create a rhythm, a shared pattern of survival. One traveller speaks again. A few words, perhaps asking if you have fire or if you have seen shelter nearby. You answer simply, no fire, no shelter. The truth is enough. A commonly held historical view suggests that travellers often exchanged information quickly in such encounters, sharing what little they knew about the road ahead or behind. These brief exchanges could shape decisions for the rest of the night. They accept your answer without question. No disappointment, only understanding. Another traveller shifts closer now, not touching but nearer than before. The distance between you narrows not out of familiarity but out of necessity. Body heat, even from a short distance, can make a difference when the air is still. You feel it slowly. A faint change. Not warmth exactly, but a reduction in the sharpness of the cold. The space between you and them becomes a shared pocket where the air feels slightly less biting. You adjust your position again, turning just enough to allow that shared space to form more effectively. Your cloak still wraps tightly around you, but now it also interacts with the presence beside you, holding a bit more of the air in place. A curious detail found in scattered writings suggests that travellers sometimes slept in loose groups, positioning themselves to reduce exposure rather than to communicate. The arrangement was practical, shaped by the need to preserve heat rather than any sense of comfort. No one speaks for a while. The silence returns, but it feels different now. It carries a quiet awareness of others, a shared understanding that each person is enduring the same conditions. You hear someone cough softly, another shifts adjusting their cloak. A third leans against their pack, finding a position similar to your own. These small movements ripple through the group, each person responding in their own way. You close your eyes briefly. Again, only briefly. Sleep remains shallow, but it comes a little easier now. The presence of others changes something within you. Not safety, not entirely, but a reduction in isolation. You're still alert, always. But your mind drifts slightly further this time, touching the edge of rest without falling fully into it. The sounds around you continue quiet and steady, forming a kind of background that supports your awareness, rather than disrupting it. Another perspective from historical interpretation suggests that shared rest among travellers was often silent, practical and temporary. There was little need for conversation once positions were chosen. Survival did not require words. You feel that now. There is no need to speak. The cold continues, but it feels less overwhelming. Not because it has weakened, but because it is now met by more than one body, more than one presence. The burden feels distributed, even if only slightly. You shift once more, careful not to disturb the others. Your hands remain tucked, your knees drawn in, your posture compact and deliberate. The ground still presses upward with its quiet chill, but your body has adapted to it. Time passes, slowly. You are not sure how long. The night stretches without clear markers, each moment blending into the next. The only measure comes from your own awareness, the way your body responds, the way your mind drifts and returns. A final observation from historical understanding suggests that these brief shared moments of rest were rarely remembered in detail, yet they formed a crucial part of travel. Small, quiet collaborations that allowed individuals to endure what they could not face entirely alone. You remain there, among strangers, not connected by theme or story, but by circumstance, by cold, by the simple need to endure the night. Your breathing can do so, stay slow. The air moves gently around the group, held slightly in place by the presence of bodies and fabric. It's not much, but it is enough to matter. You do not fully sleep, but you rest. And in this quiet, shared stillness, you begin to understand something that does not need to be spoken. Survival at times is a silent agreement. You remain within this quiet circle of shared presence. Your body settled into a position that now feels almost familiar. The cold continues steady and patient, but something about the space has shifted. Not warmer in any obvious way, yet less severe, as if the night has softened its edge just slightly. Your attention drifts beyond the group, toward the shapes further along the road. At first, they are only outlines, darker forms against the pale suggestion of snow. Then you notice movement. Slow, heavy, rhythmic. Animals. Horses, most likely, or perhaps mules guided by one of the travellers who arrived with the others. They stand a short distance away, heads lowered, their breath rising in faint clouds that drift and vanish into the cold air. You listen, the soft stamp of a hoof against frozen ground, the faint shift of leather harness, a quiet exhale that carries warmth for only a moment before it disappears. A widely accepted understanding of medieval travel highlights how essential animals were, not only for carrying goods but for survival itself. In winter, their presence offered more than transport. They became a source of warmth, stability, and even reassurance in the darkness. You watch as one traveller moves toward them. Slowly, calmly, they reach out, resting a hand against the side of a horse. The animal does not react sharply. It remains still accustomed to human touch, its body radiating a steady, contained heat. You feel the idea before you act. Warmth, not imagined, real. You shift slightly, considering the distance. It is not far, but moving means exposing yourself again, even briefly. The cold will press in harder the moment you leave your carefully arranged position. You hesitate, then you move. Slowly you rise, your joints stiff from stillness. The air greets you immediately, sharper now against your face and hands. You draw your cloak tighter as you take a few careful steps toward the animals. The ground crunches softly beneath your feet. Each step feels deliberate, measured, as if the night itself is watching. You approach without sudden movement, aware that these animals, though calm, respond to unfamiliar energy. You reach out. Your hand finds the thick winter coat of the nearest horse. The sensation is immediate and surprising. Warmth deep and steady held beneath coarse hair that insulates the body beneath. It is not overwhelming, but it is undeniable. You keep your hand there. For a moment, you simply feel it. The contrast between the cold air and the living heat beneath your palm creates a quiet sense of relief. Not comfort, but something close to it. A lesser known detail from historical accounts suggests that travellers often stayed near their animals at night, not only to protect them, but to benefit from their warmth. The proximity could reduce exposure, especially when wind was low and bodies were close. You glance back toward the group. Some remain where they are. Others have shifted slightly closer to the animals, forming a loose arrangement that allows for shared warmth without crowding. You adjust your position, not pressing too close, but near enough to feel the difference. The air here carries a faint warmth, subtle but present. It lingers around the animals, held briefly before drifting away. You lower yourself again. Carefully you sit near the horse, your side angled toward it, your back still partially protected by your cloak. The ground remains cold, but the air feels different, less biting, less immediate. The smell here changes as well. Warm animal scent earthy and familiar. It mixes with leather with hay that clings faintly to their coats with the quiet presence of life itself. It is not unpleasant. It is grounding. You hear the slow rhythm of the animals breathing. Steady, calm. It creates a kind of anchor in the night, a reminder that you are not alone in this environment. That something else endures alongside you, shaped by the same cold but equipped to manage it differently. Another traveller shifts closer on the opposite side. Not speaking, not acknowledging, simply adjusting to share the space. The arrangement becomes more defined now. Bodies and animals forming a loose circle, each contributing a small amount to the shared environment. A thoughtful interpretation from historical study suggests that such arrangements were often unspoken yet understood. Experience-guided behaviour, and travellers learned quickly how to position themselves for mutual benefit without needing instruction. You settle into this new position. Your cloak wraps tightly around you, but now it holds slightly warmer air. Your hands, still tucked close, begin to feel a faint return of sensation. Not fully warm, but less numb. You exhale slowly. The breath feels different here, less sharp as it leaves your body. It lingers for a fraction longer before fading, as if the space itself holds it briefly. A curious observation from scattered writings notes that animals provided not just physical warmth, but a psychological sense of stability. Their presence, their steady breathing, their quiet endurance all contributed to a calmer state of mind for travellers. You feel that now? The tension in your shoulders eases slightly. Not gone, but reduced. Your body remains alert, but it no longer feels as isolated against the night. You close your eyes again, just for a moment. This time the edge of rest comes a little closer. Your mind drifts slightly further before returning, as if testing the safety of this arrangement. The sounds around you continue soft and predictable. Hoof shifting, breath rising, fabric moving. Nothing sudden, nothing sharp. You remain aware, always. Yet something within you allows a deeper pause, a slightly longer stillness between moments of alertness. It is not full sleep, it is something in between. Another perspective from historical understanding suggests that these small advantages, a bit of warmth, a calmer mind, a steadier environment, could significantly affect a traveller's ability to endure repeated nights outdoors. You begin to understand that accumulation, not a single solution, but a collection of small improvements. Each one barely noticeable on its own, but together creating a difference that matters. You shift slightly, careful not to disturb the animal beside you. It remains calm, its warmth steady and reliable. You keep your position, allowing that presence to continue shaping the space around you. The night remains cold. The ground remains hard. The darkness remains complete. But here beside this quiet breathing animal, something has changed. Not comfort or alert, not safety, but a fragile sense of balance. You rest within it. Carefully, you remain close to the quiet warmth of the animals your body held in a careful stillness that now feels almost practiced. The night has deepened, yet your awareness has grown steadier within it. The cold still surrounds you, constant and patient, but your mind has begun to move beyond it, searching for something more than endurance alone. The road carries memory. Even here in the dark you sense it, not through sight but through the faint traces left behind by those who have passed before. Paths like this, worn by years of travel, often lead somewhere purposeful, even if that purpose is hidden from you now. You open your eyes. The sky above feels wider than before, the darkness stretching in a quiet, uninterrupted arc. No clear light marks the horizon yet. Something in the air suggests that the world does not end where your sight does. It continues quietly beyond what you can see. A well-established understanding of medieval life points to the role of monasteries and religious houses as rare places of refuge along major routes. These places did not exist for travellers alone, but they often provided shelter, food, or simple rest when conditions became too severe. You think of that now, not as certainty but as possibility. Somewhere along this road there may be stone walls, a low roof, a door that opens with quiet hesitation. A place where the wind does not reach, and where sleep can come without negotiation. The thought lingers gentle but distant. You shift slightly. The ground presses upward, reminding you of where you are. There is no structure here, no walls, only the rise of earth behind you and the steady presence of those around you. Still the idea remains. A subtle detail preserved in scattered writing suggests that not all monasteries welcome travellers equally. Some offered warmth and bread without question, while others were more cautious, especially during difficult seasons when resources were limited. You imagine approaching one, the quiet knock, the pause that follows, the sound of footsteps within. Would the door open quickly or slowly? Would there be warmth waiting, or only a brief exchange before you are turned away? You let the thought pass. It doesn't change the present. The air shifts slightly, carrying a faint scent that is different from before. You notice it slowly, as if it's been there for some time, but only now reaches your awareness. It is subtle, almost imagined. Wood smoke, very distant. You lift your head just slightly, breathing in again more deliberately this time. The scent is there, though faint enough that it could disappear at any moment. It suggests something beyond your immediate surroundings. A fire, a structure, perhaps even a place of shelter. You listen. No voices, no movement, only the same quiet rhythm of the night. An interesting note from historical interpretation indicates that travellers often relied on senses beyond sight when searching for shelter. Smell, especially that of smoke, could signal habitation long before any structure became visible. You consider standing, just to look, just to confirm. But the risk is clear. Leaving your position even briefly means exposing yourself again to the full reach of the cold. The fragile balance you have created here could be lost in moments. You remain where you are. The scent fades slightly, then returns, carried unevenly by the shifting air. It is not strong enough to guide you with certainty, only enough to remind you that something may exist beyond your reach. A thoughtful perspective offered by historians suggests that decisions like this defined survival. Knowing when to move and when to remain still required judgment shaped by experience, not instinct alone. You feel that weight now. Movement could lead to shelter, or it could lead to greater exposure. You draw your cloak closer, your body instinctively choosing caution. The warmth beside you, the presence of others, the steady breathing of the animal at your side. These are known, reliable in their own limited way. The unknown lies beyond. You stay. The night continues unbroken. A traveller nearby shifts slightly, pulling their cloak tighter. Another adjusts their position closer to the animals. No one speaks. The silence holds shared and understood. You close your eyes again. The scent of smoke lingers faintly in your memory, even as it fades from the air. It becomes less a signal and more a thought, something that exists within you rather than around you. A quieter observation from historical study suggests that hope, even uncertain hope, played a role in endurance. The belief that shelter might be found, that warmth existed somewhere ahead, could shape how a traveller faced the present moment. You feel that now, not strongly, not enough to change your actions, but enough to soften the edge of the night. Your breathing slows once more. The rhythm returns steady and calm. The ground remains firm beneath you. The air remains cold, yet your body has adapted to it, finding a way to exist within these limits. You remain alert, always, but the sharpness of that alertness has eased, replaced by something quieter, a watchfulness that does not demand constant tension. The animal says, "Yeah." Beside you exhales slowly. The warmth brushes against your side, subtle but real. You lean slightly into it, not enough to disturb, only enough to remain within its reach. Time moves, slowly. The scent of smoke does not return with the same clarity. Perhaps it was carried from far away, a brief connection to a place you cannot reach tonight. Or perhaps it was closer than you think, hidden just beyond the limits of your perception. You will not know. Not now. Another reflective interpretation from historical understanding suggests that many travellers passed within reach of shelter without ever finding it, guided only by incomplete signals and uncertain choices. You accept that possibility? There is no frustration in it, only a quiet recognition of the limits you face. You remain where you are, among strangers, beside animals, wrapped in layers that serve as your only barrier against the cold. The idea of shelter fades gently into the background, replaced once again by the steady presence of the night. You return to what is real, what is immediate, what you can control. Your posture, your breathing, your awareness. These are enough. And as you settle deeper into this quiet balance, you begin to understand something that does not need to be spoken aloud. Not every night leads to refuge. Some nights simply ask you to endure. You remain where you are, your body shaped by the ground, your awareness stretched quietly across the night. The faint memory of distant smoke has faded, leaving only the steady presence of cold air and the soft rhythm of breathing around you. The balance you have found feels fragile, yet it holds. Still, the land offers one more possibility. You begin to notice the snow more carefully, not as a surface you avoided earlier, but as something that might be shaped. The patches around you vary in depth and texture, some thin and scattered, others gathered in small drifts where the wind has slowed. What once seemed uniform now reveals subtle differences. You open your eyes fully. The pale glow of the ground helps you see these variations. A low drift sits not far from your current position, pressed gently against a cluster of stones. It is not large, but it has structure, the kind that might be used. A broadly recognized insight into survival techniques suggests that snow, when handled correctly, can act as insulation rather than exposure. Packed snow traps air, and that trapped air can slow the loss of body heat, creating a barrier between you and colder surfaces. You study the drift. It is firm, not powdery. Pressed by wind and time, this matters. Loose snow shifts too easily, offering little support, but this has weight to it, a quiet stability. You hesitate. The ground you have chosen is predictable. The arrangement you have built holds. Moving again means risk. Yet the idea lingers, not as urgency, but as curiosity shaped by need. You rise slowly. Your joints protest, slightly stiff from stillness. The air greets you again, sharper against your face. You draw your cloak tighter, stepping carefully toward the drift. The snow compresses under your boot, a soft sound. Controlled. It holds your weight without collapsing completely. You press again, testing it, learning its resistance. A lesser-known observation from historical practices suggests that travellers sometimes modified their surroundings in small ways, even without tools shaping snow or earth, to improve their chances through the night. These efforts were rarely dramatic, but they could create subtle advantages. You crouch. Your hands reach forward, pressing into the surface. The snow compacts under your touch, becoming firmer. Where you apply pressure, you begin to clear a shallow space, pushing aside the top layer, revealing a slightly denser layer beneath. The cold bites at your fingers. You work quickly, not building something complex, just enough to create a depression that matches your shape more closely. A place where your body can settle without constant shifting. You pause briefly. Your breath visible again as you lift your hands back toward your cloak, warming them as best you can. The sensation returns, slowly tingling at first, then dulling into something more manageable. You continue. A few more movements, a little more shaping. The drift begins to take form not as a shelter in the full sense, but as a space that might hold you more effectively than the open ground. Historians have long discussed whether such small modifications were common or rare among medieval travellers. Some accounts suggest that experience taught individuals to use whatever materials were available, while others imply that exhaustion often limited these efforts. You feel both sides now. The effort costs energy. Your body reminds you of that with each movement, yet the potential benefit draws you forward, encouraging you to finish what you have started. You step back slightly. The space is ready. Not perfect, not deep, but shaped. You lower yourself carefully. Your body settles into the shallow depression, the packed snow holding your weight more evenly than the uneven ground before. The sensation is different. The cold is still there, but it feels less direct, less sharp against certain points of contact. You adjust your cloak, wrapping it more tightly, ensuring that it covers as much of your body as possible. The edges press into the snow, creating a small seal that holds the air within. The difference is subtle, but real. A curious detail noted in survival observations is that even slight reductions in airflow can significantly affect how cold is experienced. By limiting movement of air around the body, warmth has a better chance to gather even in small amounts. You feel that now. The air inside your cloak feels more contained, not warm but less exposed. Your breathing slows again, adapting to this new arrangement. The smell changes slightly. Snow carries very little scent, but beneath it you detect a faint trace of earth, muted and distant. It blends with the familiar notes of wool and leather, creating a quiet neutral presence. You shift once more, carefully ensuring that your weight is distributed evenly. The snow holds firm beneath you. It does not collapse or shift as much as you expected. This gives you a small sense of stability. Another traveller watches briefly. Then, without speaking, they move to another drift nearby, beginning a similar process. The idea spreads quietly, not through words, but through observation. A thoughtful interpretation from historical understanding suggests that knowledge often passed in this way among travellers. One person acts, others notice, and the practice becomes shared without instruction. You settle again. Your hands return to their place beneath your cloak. Your knees draw in. Your body becomes compact shaped not only by posture, but now by the space you've created. The animal nearby remains steady. Its warmth still reaches you, though slightly less directly now. You have traded some proximity for a more stable position. The balance shifts, but it holds. You close your eyes. This time the approach of rest feels different. Not deeper, but more supported. Your body does not need to adjust as often. The pressure points that once demanded movement are reduced, allowing longer moments of stillness. You remain aware, always, but the intervals between that awareness stretch slightly longer. Your mind drifts further before returning, touching the edge of sleep without falling completely into it. Another perspective from historical study suggests that these small adaptations could make a significant difference over time. Not in a single moment, but across many nights where each improvement contributed to endurance. You understand that now, not as theory, but as experience. The night continues. The cold remains, but within this shallow, carefully shaped space, you have created something new. Not shelter, but a step toward it. And as you rest within it, your body finds a quieter rhythm, your breathing steady, your awareness calm. You begin to feel a subtle shift. You are no longer only reacting, you're shaping the night around you. You remain settled within the shallow space you shaped. Your body held more evenly than before. The snow beneath you supports your weight, and the air inside your cloak feels contained, almost still. The difference is not dramatic, yet it is enough to notice. Your breathing stays slow. Steady, measured. For a moment it almost feels sustainable. Then your body reminds you of something else. Hunger. It arrives quietly at first, not as pain, but as a hollow awareness somewhere deep within you. A subtle pull, like an absence that becomes more noticeable the longer you remain still. You had ignored it while walking. Movement can do that. But now in stillness it returns. A widely recognized understanding of medieval travel explains that food was often limited during long journeys, especially in winter when supplies were harder to maintain. Travelers carried what they could, but preservation was difficult and access to fresh provisions was uncertain. You swallow slowly. Your mouth feels dry. You reach toward your pack again, more slowly this time, aware that each movement matters. The leather creaks softly as you open it just enough to search within. Your fingers find something. Hard, small, bread perhaps, or a piece of dried meat. You bring it out carefully, holding it close to your body to shield it from the cold air. It feels firm, almost unyielding. You pause, not from hesitation but from awareness. Eating now means using energy. Digesting food generates warmth, but it also consumes resources your body may need later. You weigh the choice in silence. A lesser-known observation from historical writings suggests that some travelers rationed food carefully at night, choosing whether to eat based on how long they expected to remain exposed to the cold. It was not always a simple decision. You take a small bite, slowly. The texture is dense, resistant. You chew with effort, your jaw moving steadily as the food softens just enough to swallow. The taste is plain, dry, familiar. You take another bite. Smaller this time, your body responds almost immediately. Not with fullness, but with a faint sense of relief, as if something essential has been acknowledged. The hollow feeling does not disappear, but it lessens. You stop there. Carefully you return the remaining food to your pack, closing it again with quiet precision. It is enough for now. It must be enough. The cold shifts slightly, or perhaps your perception of it does. A subtle warmth begins to gather within your chest, not strong but noticeable. The act of eating has changed something, even if only briefly. A thoughtful interpretation from historians suggests that maintaining energy was just as important as preserving warmth. Without fuel, the body struggled to generate heat, making even the best clothing and positioning less effective. If you feel that connection now, warmth is not only external, it comes from within. You draw your cloak tighter instinctively, holding that small internal heat close. Your posture remains compact, your body conserving what it can. The snow beneath you continues to support your position, reducing the need for constant adjustment. The smell of the air remains faint. Snow, wool. Oh, a trace of leather. Nothing else. You listen again. The group around you remains quiet. Occasional movement breaks the stillness, a shift of fabric, a soft exhale, the faint sound of someone adjusting their position. The animals remain steady, their breathing slow and rhythmic. You notice something new, a slight tremor in your hands. Not strong, barely visible, but present. Your body is working harder than it appears, generating heat through subtle movement even in stillness. Shivering begins as a quiet response, a way to maintain warmth when external conditions offer little support. A curious detail noted in medical interpretations of historical life suggests that shivering was one of the body's primary defenses against cold, though it also consumed energy quickly. Travelers who lacked sufficient food or rest could find themselves unable to sustain it. You tuck your hands deeper beneath your cloak, closer to your core. The movement reduces the tremor slightly, or at least makes it less noticeable. You focus on your breathing again, allowing it to remain slow, controlled, in and out. Even, your mind drifts briefly, not far. Images pass quietly through your awareness. A road travelled earlier, a place where you once rested more comfortably. Perhaps a memory of warmth that feels distant now, softened by time and cold. You return to the present, always. The night holds you in its steady rhythm. There is no urgency here, no sudden change, only the slow passage of time and the quiet work of endurance. Another interpretation from historical study suggests that hunger and cold often work together, each intensifying the other. Without enough food, the body struggled to maintain heat. Without warmth, energy was used more quickly, deepening the sense of hunger. You understand that balance now. It is not something you can fully control, only manage. You shift slightly, just enough to maintain circulation to prevent stiffness from settling too deeply into your limbs. The snow holds your position, allowing the movement without disrupting your arrangement. Your feet press together again, your knees draw in closer. Your body remains compact, focused on preserving what little warmth exists. You close your eyes once more. This time, the edge of rest feels closer again, though, not because of comfort. Rather, it comes from fatigue from the steady effort your body has been making without pause. You allow it, partially. Your awareness softens, drifting just beyond the immediate sensations of cold and hunger. You do not lose yourself completely. You cannot. But you move closer to that boundary where rest becomes possible. Another reflective note from historical understanding suggests that survival often depended on accepting incomplete rest. Travelers rarely achieved full sleep in such conditions, relying instead on brief moments of recovery that allowed them to continue. You feel that now. Not fully asleep, not fully awake. Held somewhere in between, your breathing remains steady. The small warmth within you lingers, supported by the food you consumed. It's not enough to change everything, but it matters. Everything here matters. Every choice, every movement, every breath. And as you rest within this careful balance, you begin to understand something that does not need to be explained. Endurance is built from small decisions, quiet ones. You remain within your shallow hollow, your body held in a careful stillness that now feels almost practiced. The faint warmth from food lingers quietly inside you while the cold continues its steady presence from without. The balance between the two is delicate, never fixed, always shifting. Your senses sharpen again, not from fear but from necessity. Sound becomes your guide. At first, it is the wind, soft and steady, brushing lightly across the surface of the snow. It no longer startles you. Instead, it forms a kind of backdrop, a constant tone that fills the space without demanding attention. Then something else emerges. A faint crack, sharp but distant. You open your eyes. The sound does not repeat immediately, leaving you to wonder whether it was real or imagined. You listen more closely now, letting your breathing slow further so that even the smallest noise can reach you. Another sound follows, a low shifting like weight settling on frozen ground. A commonly accepted interpretation of winter landscapes suggests that cold temperatures cause materials to contract and shift. Ice forms and breaks, wood tightens and releases, and the land itself can produce quiet sounds that seem unfamiliar in the stillness of night. You remain still, listening. The sounds do not form a pattern yet, they do not feel random either. Each one carries a sense of distance, as if the land is speaking in small, isolated moments rather than continuous motion. You hear a soft rustle near, but closer this time. Your attention shifts toward it, your body remaining motionless as your awareness extends outward. The rustle pauses, then resumes slower now, careful. Not wind, something moving. A lesser discussed detail from medieval travel accounts notes that animals were more active at night during winter, searching for what little food could be found. Travellers often relied on sound to detect their presence long before they could be seen. You keep your eyes open, scanning the darkness. A shape moves just beyond the edge of your vision, low to the ground, silent except for the faint disturbance of snow. It pauses, then moves again, tracing a slow path along the edge of the group. Your body tenses slightly, not sharply, just enough. The animal does not approach directly. It circles at a distance, cautious, aware of the presence gathered here. The scent of humans, of animals, of leather and cloth creates a boundary it does not cross. You exhale quietly. The tension eases. A small creature, perhaps, or something larger that has chosen not to come closer. You do not know, and in this moment you do not need to. You listen again. The rhythm of breathing returns, the soft movement of the horses, the faint shifting of others nearby as they adjust their positions. These sounds begin to form a pattern, one that feels familiar now. A curious observation from historical interpretation suggests that experienced travellers learned to distinguish between harmless sounds and those that required immediate attention. This ability was not taught formally, but developed through repeated exposure to nights like this. You feel that understanding growing within you. Not complete, not perfect, but present. The wind shifts again. This time it carries a slightly different tone, moving across the surface of the snow with a faint whisper that rises and falls. It brushes against your cloak, testing its edges, then passes on. You notice how your body responds. Less reaction, more recognition. The sounds no longer feel like interruptions. They become part of the environment woven into the experience rather than standing apart from it. Another interpretation offered by historians suggests that night travel sharpened sensory awareness in ways that daytime movement did not. Without clear sight, the other senses expanded, filling the space with information that guided decisions and reactions. You understand that now. Your hearing feels more precise, your sense of space more defined even without light. You know where others are without seeing them, guided by breath movement and the subtle presence they create. You shift slightly, just enough to ease pressure in your shoulder. The snow holds your shape, allowing the movement without disruption. You settle again, your posture returning to its compact form. Your breathing remains steady. In and out, the sounds continue. A hoof presses against the ground. A faint exhale from another traveller. The distant crack of the ice, once more softer, this time almost absorbed by the night. You close your eyes, not fully, half aware, half resting. The sounds remain, but they no longer pull you fully back into alertness. Instead, they exist at the edge of your awareness, acknowledged but not acted upon. A softer note from historical study suggests that this balance between awareness and rest was essential. Too much attention could exhaust the mind, while too little could leave one vulnerable. Travellers learn to exist between these states, neither fully alert nor fully asleep. You feel that balance now, held gently. The night stretches on, yet it feels less heavy than before. Not because it has changed, but because your relationship to it has shifted. You're no longer resisting every sound, every movement. You're allowing them to pass through your awareness without taking hold. Your body remains still. Your mind drifts. The sounds continue their quiet rhythm, marking time in a way that feels almost steady, almost predictable. Not a clock, but a pattern. You remain within it. Another reflective insight from historical understanding suggests that over time, the unfamiliar becomes familiar, even in harsh conditions. What once felt threatening begins to feel expected, and that expectation reduces strain. You experience that now. The night no longer feels entirely unknown. It feels navigable. You breathe slowly, allowing your body to rest within this understanding. The cold remains. The ground remains firm. The darkness remains complete. Yet something within you has softened, not weakened, adjusted. And as the quiet sounds of the winter night continue around you, you remain where you are, steady and aware, resting within a world that no longer feels entirely distant. It simply is. You remain within your shaped hollow, your body settled into a rhythm that now feels almost sustainable. The night continues without interruption, and your senses remain gently extended into the darkness. The sounds you have grown accustomed to still surround you, steady and predictable. Yet another awareness begins to rise, not from sound, from instinct, vulnerability. You feel it not as fear, but as quiet recognition. You are still, exposed, resting in a place that offers only partial protection. The group around you reduces isolation, but it does not remove risk entirely. You open your eyes, slowly. The darkness remains, though your vision has adapted enough to reveal faint outlines. Shapes of bodies, the curve of an animal's back, the low rise of earth behind you. Everything is where it should be. Still you listen, more carefully now. A widely accepted interpretation of medieval travel suggests that roads were not always safe, especially at night. Theft, opportunistic attacks, and quiet acts of desperation were known to occur, particularly in isolated stretches where travellers had little defence. You remain still. Your body does not tense sharply. Instead, it adjusts in subtle ways. Your awareness sharpens, your breathing becomes slightly more controlled, your posture ready without appearing rigid. You hear a movement, not the soft rhythm of those resting nearby. Something different, a shift in snow that does not match the pattern you have learned. It is brief, then gone. You wait, allowing the silence to return before reacting. Another sound follows. Faint, careful, closer than before. A lesser discussed detail from historical accounts suggests that experienced travellers often relied on stillness rather than confrontation when uncertain movement was detected. Drawing attention could increase risk while quiet observation allowed for better understanding of the situation. You do not move, not yet. Your eyes remain open, scanning slowly without turning your head too quickly. The shapes around you remain unchanged, no sudden movement, no clear sign of disturbance. You listen again. The sound does not repeat. Perhaps it was nothing. A small animal passing near the edge of your group, or a shift in the snow that carried differently in the still air. You cannot be certain. Historians have long debated how common each time threats truly were along medieval roads. Some accounts emphasize danger, while others suggest that such risks, though real, were less frequent than imagined. What remains consistent is the awareness travelers maintained regardless of actual threat. You feel that awareness now, balanced. You do not assume danger, but you do not dismiss it either. You shift your hand slightly, not reaching for anything, but ensuring that you can move if needed. Your cloak remains wrapped tightly, your body still compact. You do not want to expose yourself unnecessarily. A quiet breath escapes you, slow, measured. The group around you remains largely unchanged. One traveller stirs briefly, adjusting their position before settling again. Another leans slightly closer to the animal beside them. These movements feel familiar, part of the pattern you have come to recognize. A curious note from historical interpretation suggests that groups of strangers often created a form of silent protection simply through presence. Even without trust, numbers discouraged certain risks, creating a balance that benefited all. You sense that now. The presence of others matters, not as assurance but as influence. You close your eyes briefly, then open them again. You do not allow yourself to drift too far. Not here, not now. The balance you maintain between rest and awareness becomes more deliberate, shaped by the quiet possibility that something could change. Another subtle insight from historical study suggests that travelers often developed a heightened sensitivity to unusual patterns. It was not the presence of sound that mattered, but the difference within it. You listen for that difference. The wind continues its soft movement. The animals breathe steadily. The faint shifting of snow occurs at intervals that now feel expected. Nothing breaks the pattern. You remain still. Time passes, slowly. The tension that rose within you does not disappear completely, but it softens as the moments continue without incident. Your body relaxes slightly, though never fully. The readiness remains held quietly beneath the surface. You shift again, carefully. Your shoulder eases against the snow-reducing pressure. Your hands remain tucked, your feet pressed together. The position holds familiar now, shaped by a repeated adjustment. You breathe, in and out, steady. Another interpretation from historical understanding suggests that managing fear was as important as managing cold. Excess tension could exhaust the body, while complete relaxation could leave one vulnerable. The balance between the two was essential. You feel that balance now. Maintained. The night does not change. No new sounds emerge. No new movement draws your attention. The quiet returns, fully settling around you like a gentle weight. You allow your awareness to soften again, not completely, but enough. Your eyes close once more, this time for a slightly longer moment. Your breathing remains even, your body still prepared to respond if needed. The tension that remains feels controlled, not overwhelming. You rest, lightly. The presence of vulnerability does not leave, but it becomes part of the environment rather than something separate from it. It exists alongside the cold, the darkness, the quiet rhythm of the night. You accept it. Another reflective note from historical observation suggests that acceptance of uncertainty was a key part of survival. Not every risk could be eliminated. Not every threat could be predicted. Endurance required living within that uncertainty rather than resisting it entirely. You understand that now. You remain where you are, steady, aware, balance between rest and readiness. The night continues unchanged, and within it you find a way to remain. You remain within the quiet arrangement you have formed, your body still, your awareness gently extended into the night. The earlier sense of alertness has softened, not because the world has become safer, but because you have adapted to it. The cold continues its steady presence, and the sounds around you maintain their familiar rhythm. A new need rises now, not for warmth, not for movement, for wakefulness. Your eyelids grow heavier, the slow pull of fatigue becoming more difficult to resist. Your body has been working without pause, conserving heat, adjusting position, maintaining awareness. That effort begins to show itself in a different way. Sleep presses closer. You do not fully welcome it. You cannot. A commonly accepted perspective on survival in cold conditions suggests that falling into deep sleep outdoors can be dangerous, especially when temperatures remain low. The body slows, awareness fades, and the ability to respond to cold diminishes. You feel that boundary now, the edge between rest and risk. You open your eyes again, slowly. The darkness remains unchanged, but your perception of it feels softer, less defined. Shapes blur slightly, not because they have moved, but because your focus has shifted. You inhale deeply. The cold air sharpens your senses just enough to pull you back. You let the breath out slowly, steadying yourself, reminding your body to remain present. A traveller nearby stirs, a quiet movement, a soft shift of fabric. Then a voice low and subdued breaks the silence. Not loud, not urgent, just enough to be heard. A few words are spoken, perhaps to no one in particular. A simple observation, a question. The content does not matter as much as the sound itself. Another voice responds, equally quiet. A brief exchange follows, then fades. A lesser-known insight from historical interpretation suggests that travellers sometimes spoke during the night not to share information but to remain awake. Conversation, even minimal, helped maintain awareness when fatigue threatened to take hold. You listen. The voices do not continue, but their presence lingers in the air, a reminder that others are experiencing the same struggle. You consider speaking, just a word, a sound, but you do not. Instead, you shift slightly, adjusting your posture to re-engage your body. Your shoulder lifts your legs, reposition. Your hands move just enough to restore circulation. The movement is small, but it helps. You feel the difference. Your awareness sharpens again. A thoughtful interpretation from historical study suggests that managing fatigue required active effort. Travelers did not simply wait for sleep or wakefulness. They influenced it through movement, breath, and interaction. You understand that now. You are not passive in this moment. You are choosing to remain awake. You draw your cloak tighter once more, feeling the fabric press against your body. The sensation grounds you, reminding you of your physical presence in this space. The animal beside you exhales slowly. The warmth brushes against your side, again subtle but steady. It helps not just physically but mentally, providing a consistent point of focus. You listen to its breathing. In, out, measured. You match your own breathing to it, allowing the rhythm to guide you. The repetition keeps your mind engaged, preventing it from drifting too far. Another traveller shifts closer, not speaking but adjusting their position in a way that creates a faint sound enough to break the deeper silence. These small disturbances become useful, each one pulling your attention back when it begins to fade. A curious detail found in scattered writings suggests that groups often developed unspoken methods of maintaining collective awareness. Small movements, quiet sounds, subtle interactions that prevented everyone from slipping too deeply into sleep at once. You feel that pattern forming here, not coordinated, but shared. You close your eyes briefly, then open them again. The motion becomes intentional now, a way to manage the pull of fatigue. Each time you close your eyes, you allow a moment of rest. Each time you open them, you return to awareness. You repeat this quietly. Once, twice, your body responds. The heaviness in your eyelids lessens slightly, replaced by a controlled rhythm of rest and wakefulness. It is not comfortable, but it is effective. Another perspective from historical understanding suggests that travellers often relied on fragmented rest, allowing themselves brief moments of near sleep without fully surrendering to it. This approach preserved awareness while still offering some recovery. You feel that balance now. Maintained. The night continues unchanged in its outward form, yet your experience of it shifts again. You are no longer simply enduring the cold or listening to the sounds. You're actively managing your state, guiding yourself through the hours. Your breathing remains steady. Your posture holds. Your awareness stays present. The voices do not return, but their earlier presence has left a subtle effect. The silence no longer feels as heavy as though it has been muffled by the brief exchange. You shift once more. Carefully, your body remains compact, your hands tucked, your feet pressed together. The snow beneath you still supports your shape, allowing these small adjustments without disrupting your position. Time moves. Slowly, the pull of sleep does not disappear, but it becomes something you can work with rather than something that overtakes you. You allow it in small amounts, controlled, measured. Another reflective insight from historical study suggests that endurance often depended on this kind of self-regulation, the ability to respond to the body's needs without fully yielding to them. You understand that now. You remain within that narrow space between rest and wakefulness, guided by quiet awareness and small, deliberate actions. The night holds steady, the cold remains constant, yet within this you continue to adapt. And as you maintain this careful rhythm, you begin to feel something that is not quite comfort, but not quite strain either. A kind of balance, fragile, but real. You remain within your carefully shaped space, your body held in a posture that now feels almost instinctive. The rhythm you have created between rest and awareness continues steady and deliberate. The cold persists unchanged, yet your response to it has grown more measured. Then something shifts, not outside. Within you, a faint numbness begins to spread through your fingers, subtle at first, almost unnoticeable. You flex them slightly beneath your cloak, expecting the familiar return of sensation. It comes but slower than before. You pause. Your attention sharpens. This is different. A broadly accepted medical understanding even in earlier times recognized the danger of losing sensation in extremities during prolonged exposure to cold. While medieval travellers did not describe it in modern terms, they understood the risk of what we now call frostbite through experience and observation. You move your hands again, more deliberately. Fingers press together, then release. The motion feels stiff, as if the joints resist you. The warmth that once lingered beneath your cloak feels thinner, now less able to reach the edges of your body. You shift your hands closer to your chest, pressing them firmly against your core. The warmth there is stronger, held within the center of your body. You allow your fingers to rest there, absorbing what heat they can. A lesser mentioned DL from historical accounts suggests that travelers often prioritize protecting their extremities, knowing that damage there could have lasting consequences. Hands and feet were essential for continuing the journey, and their care was constant. You become aware of your feet. Slowly, the sensation is not pain but absence, a dullness that replaces the clearer feeling you had earlier. You press your feet together more firmly, adjusting your position to bring them closer to your body. The snow beneath you remains stable. Your posture holds, or see somewhere maybe your posture holds. But the cold has found its way in. You respond, not with urgency, but with precision. You shift slightly, lifting one foot just enough to create movement, then pressing it back down. Then the other. The motion is small, controlled, designed to restore circulation without exposing you too much to the air. You repeat it. Once. Twice. A faint tingling follows, a sign that sensation is returning, though not fully. A reflective interpretation from historical study suggests that experienced travellers developed a constant awareness of their bodies, checking for changes in sensation as part of their routine. These checks were not formal but instinctive, shaped by necessity. You feel that instinct now. Your awareness turns inward, scanning quietly, noting each change, each signal your body sends. The animal beside you shifts slightly. Its warmth remains steady, though it does not reach your feet as directly as it does your side. You lean a fraction closer, adjusting your position to capture what warmth you can without disturbing it. Your hands remain pressed to your chest. Slowly, sensation begins to return. Not fully, but enough to reassure you. The stiffness eases slightly, replaced by a dull warmth that spreads outward. You exhale, quietly. Another perspective offered by historians suggests that cold injuries were a real and present risk for those travelling in winter, though they were not always recorded in detail. Many accounts simply note the consequences without describing the process. You understand that now. The process is quiet, gradual, easy to overlook if you're not paying attention. You shift again. Your legs draw in tighter, your feet pressing more firmly against each other. Your posture becomes more compact, more focused on preserving heat where it matters most. The cold remains unchanged, but your response becomes sharper, more deliberate. A curious note from early observations suggests that rubbing or massaging cold limbs was a common response, though not always effective. Movement, however small, often proved more reliable in restoring circulation. You choose movement. Small, controlled. Your fingers flex again, slower this time, allowing the motion to continue without strain. Your feet press and release in a quiet rhythm barely noticeable from the outside. You maintain this, not continuously but in intervals. A few moments of stillness, then movement, then stillness again. Your breathing remains steady throughout. In and out, even. The pattern you have built now includes this new element, this quiet monitoring of your extremities. It becomes part of your awareness as natural as listening to the wind or adjusting your cloak. Another thoughtful interpretation from historical understanding suggests that survival often depended on attention to small details rather than dramatic actions. The difference between endurance and failure could lie in something as simple as noticing a change in sensation. You feel that's truth now. You remain still, yet active. Your body rests, but your awareness works constantly, adjusting, responding, maintaining balance. The numbness in your fingers fades further. Not completely gone, but reduced. Your feet regain a trace of feeling enough to remind you they are still responsive. You continue your small movements, ensuring that sensation does not fade again. The group around you remains quiet. No one speaks. Yet you sense that others may be doing the same, making small adjustments, responding to their own bodies in ways that mirror your actions. You are not alone in this. Even without words, the night continues its steady passage. The cold holds its place. But within that, you maintain control over what you can. Your hands, your feet, your posture, your awareness. These remain yours to guide. And as you settle once more into your position, your body now more responsive, your awareness sharper, you begin to understand something that does not need to be spoken. Survival is not only about enduring the night, it's about noticing the smallest changes and responding before they grow. You remain settled within your hollow, your body now responding more quickly to the signals it sends. The numbness has eased, not completely gone, but no longer spreading. Your hands and feet feel present again, and that quiet reassurance allows your awareness to widen once more. The night holds steady, cold, still, unchanging. Yet your thoughts begin to drift in a different direction, shaped not by the present alone, but by what you have learned, what you have heard, what people believe about nights like this. You glance upward. The sky feels vast even in darkness. The stars, faint but the steady, hang in the silent pattern that seems both distant and close. Their presence does not warm you yet, it offers something else. Perspective. A commonly held belief in medieval Europe suggested that night air carried unseen dangers, especially in cold seasons. Many thought that sleeping exposed to the open sky could allow harmful influences to enter the body, weakening it further. These ideas were not based on modern science, yet they shaped how people approached rest outdoors. You feel the air move across your face, slow, gentle. There is nothing visible within it, yet the sensation remains constant, reminding you of its presence. You draw your cloak slightly higher, covering more of your face, reducing exposure. You do not fully believe in unseen forces, but you respect the caution. A lesser recorded detail from historical traditions suggests that some travellers whispered short prayers or quiet words before attempting to sleep outdoors. Not always from fear, but from habit, a way to mark the transition from movement to rest. You hear a faint murmur nearby, one of the travellers barely audible, speaking softly into the space around them. The words are not clear, but the tone is calm, measured, almost rhythmic. Another follows, then silence again. The sound does not disturb you. Instead, it settles into the atmosphere, becoming part of the night's texture, much like the wind or the distant shifting of snow. You remain still, your breathing steady, your body wrapped tightly within your cloak, held between the ground and the air, between what you know and what you sense. A thoughtful interpretation from historical study suggests that beliefs about night cold and unseen influences often provided a framework for understanding discomfort. When conditions could not be controlled, they were explained through ideas that gave them meaning. You consider that now. The cold is real. The risk is real. But the explanations people carried shaped how they responded to it. You close your eyes briefly, not in sleep, in reflection. The darkness behind your eyelids feels softer, less defined than the world outside. Your mind drifts, touching fragments of thought that do not fully form, then returning again. You open your eyes. The stars remain, unchanged. A curious note from medieval writings suggests that some travelers believed certain hours of the night were more dangerous than others, times when the world felt less stable, when the boundary between what was known and unknown seemed thinner. You are not sure when that time would be. Perhaps now. Perhaps later. The night offers no clear markers. Only a slow, steady passage. You shift slightly. Your cloak rustles softly, the sound contained within the space you have created. The movement helps maintain circulation, but it also reminds you of your presence, your place within this environment. The animal beside you exhales again. Warm air brushes your side, grounding you once more in the physical reality of the moment. Whatever beliefs exist, whatever ideas have been passed through time, this remains constant. Breath. Warmth, presence. Another interpretation from historians suggests that practical experience often balanced belief. Travelers might carry ideas about unseen dangers, yet they relied on physical measures, clothing, positioning, awareness to survive the night. You feel that balance now. You do not ignore the stories, but you do not depend on them. You adjust your posture again. Small movement, deliberate. Your hands remain close to your chest, your feet pressed together. Your body compact, preserving warmth as effectively as possible. The air remains cold, the ground remains firm, the darkness remains complete, yet your perception of it has shifted once more. It no longer feels entirely empty or indifferent. It carries layers, both physical and imagined, each shaping your experience in quiet ways. You breathe slowly, in and out. The rhythm steadies you, returning your focus to what is immediate, what is real, what you can control. A final reflective insight from historical understanding suggests that endurance was not only physical but mental. The way one interpreted the night, the meaning assigned to discomfort, could influence the ability to persist. You understand that now. You remain where you are, wrapped in layers, surrounded by quiet, held between belief and reality. The night continues, and within it you find a way to remain steady, guided not only by what you feel, but by how you understand it. You remain within your small hollow, your body settled into a posture that now feels almost natural. The balance you maintain between warmth, awareness, and restraint continues to hold. The cold has not changed yet, your response to it has become quieter, more controlled. Time moves slowly. Without clear markers, you sense its passing through your own body. The gradual return of stiffness, the steady rhythm of breath, the way your thoughts drift and return in soft cycles. Then something catches your attention. Not a sound, not a movement, a shape. You open your eyes more fully, letting them adjust again to the faint outlines of the night. At first, it seems like part of the landscape, something low and uneven along the edge of the road. But as your focus sharpens, you notice the difference. It does not match the ground. It rests on it. Still, you remain motionless. Your awareness narrows, focusing on that single point. The shape does not move. It does not shift with the wind. It remains exactly as it is, quiet and separate from the surrounding snow. A commonly accepted understanding of winter travel acknowledges that not everyone who set out on such roads completed the journey. Exposure, exhaustion, and misjudgment could lead to quiet endings, often far from shelter or aid. You do not move closer. You do not need to. The distance is enough. The outline becomes clearer as your eyes adjust further. A form partially covered by snow, shaped in a way that suggests it once moved, once walked, once chose a place to rest. Now it remains, still. A lesser-known detail from scattered historical references suggests that travellers sometimes encountered signs of those who had not survived, though such encounters were rarely described in detail. The presence was acknowledged but not explored. You understand why. There is no need. The meaning is clear. Explanation. You feel a quiet shift within you. Not fear. Something else. Awareness. A thoughtful interpretation from historical study suggests that such encounters reinforce the reality of the journey. They were not dramatic moments, but quiet reminders of the limits each traveller faced. You remain where you are. Your body does not tense sharply. Your breathing remains steady, yet your awareness deepens, becoming more focused, more precise. You adjust your cloak slightly, a small movement but deliberate. Your hands remain close to your chest, your feet pressed together, your posture compact, preserving what warmth you can. The cold feels the same, yet the moment feels different. The presence of that still form changes the space around you even at a distance. It becomes part of the landscape, part of the night, part of the quiet truth you now understand more clearly. Another interpretation from historical understanding suggests that travellers often responded to such sights with somnolence rather than reaction. There was little that could be done, and attention was best directed toward one's own survival. You follow that instinct. You do not look for long. Your gaze returns to the immediate space around you, to the shapes that move, to the breath that rises, to the warmth that still exists beside you. The animal exhales again, a steady rhythm. You focus on that, on what is present, on what continues. A curious note from historical reflection suggests that resilience often grew from these quiet recognitions, moments where the reality of risk became clear yet did not overwhelm the will to continue. You feel that now, not as a sudden realization, but as a steady understanding. You remain, you endure, you shift slightly, your shoulder eases against the snow, your hands adjust within your cloak. Small movements controlled, maintaining circulation, preserving warmth. Your breathing stays even. In and out, the night does not change. The shape remains where it is, unmoving, silent part of the distant edge of your awareness. You do not return your focus to it. You do not need to. Another reflective insight from historical study suggests that travellers learn to carry such knowledge without dwelling on it. The journey required attention to the present, not the past. You understand that now. You remain within your hollow, wrapped in layers, surrounded by quiet presence. The cold continues its steady hold, yet your body responds with practiced control. Your awareness remains balanced, neither too distant nor too sharp. You close your eyes briefly, then open them again. The rhythm continues. Rest. Awareness. Adjustment. A final observation from historical understanding suggests that survival often depended on maintaining this rhythm, allowing neither fear nor fatigue to disrupt it. You hold that rhythm now, carefully, steadily. The night stretches on, unchanged, yet within it you remain grounded, focused on what is within your reach, what you can manage, what you can preserve. And as you sit there aware of both presence and absence of movement and stillness, you begin to understand something that settles quietly within you. The road carries many stories. Some continue, some do not. Yours for now continues. You remain within your hollow, your body shaped by the careful choices you have made throughout the night. The cold has not lessened yet, it no longer surprises you. It feels expected now, like a constant rhythm that moves beside your own breathing. Your awareness settles again, not outward of thinking, outward this time. Inward. You notice how your body no longer seeks long, uninterrupted rest. Instead, it moves in short cycles, drifting towards sleep, then returning to wakefulness without any clear boundary between the two. You close your eyes. For a moment, darkness comes gently, not as an absence, but as a soft layer that rests over your thoughts. Your breathing slows further, your muscles easing just slightly as you allow yourself to drift. Then, without warning, your eyes open again, not fully alert, but present. This pattern repeats. A measured understanding drawn from historical observation suggests that travellers in harsh conditions rarely achieved continuous sleep. Instead, they rested in fragments, allowing the body to recover in small portions rather than a single stretch. You experience that now. Your rest comes in brief intervals, moments, seconds perhaps, each one enough to ease fatigue just slightly before awareness returns. You do not resist it. You adapt. A subtle detail noted in early travel descriptions indicates that this form of broken rest became instinctive over time. The body learned to take what it could when it could without waiting for ideal conditions. You shift slightly. Your shoulder adjusts within the hollow. Your legs drawing closer, then relax again. The movement is small, but it marks the transition between one fragment of rest and the next. Your breathing remains steady, in and out. Even the animal beside you continues its quiet rhythm, its presence unchanged. The warmth it offers still reaches you, though faintly blending with the small warmth your body continues to generate. You close your eyes again. This time your mind drifts further. Images pass without clarity, fragments of road of movement, of places that feel distant and softened. They do not hold your attention for long, they come and go like breath. Then you return, awareness settles back into place. A thoughtful interpretation from historical study suggests that such fragmented rest allowed travelers to maintain a level of responsiveness while still recovering enough strength to continue their journey. You feel that balance. You are not fully rested, but you are not fully exhausted. You exist between the two. A curious note from historical reflection mentions that some travelers describe this state as neither waking nor sleeping, but something in between. A condition shaped entirely by necessity rather than choice. You understand that now. Your body no longer expects comfort. It works with what is available. You shift again. Your hands move slightly beneath your cloak, flexing just enough to maintain sensation. Your feet pressed together, then relax, continuing the quiet patterns you have established. The cold remains unchanged. Yet your response to it has become more efficient, more controlled, as if your body has learned to conserve effort as well as heat. Another perspective from historical understanding suggests that endurance in such conditions depended on rhythm rather than strength. The ability to maintain consistent small responses over time proved more effective than sudden, forceful actions. You feel that rhythm now? It guides you. Your eyes close once more. This time the rest lasts slightly longer. Not deep, but longer. Your breathing slows further, your muscles easing into a brief stillness that feels almost complete. The world around you fades slightly, though it does not disappear. Then gradually, you return. Your eyes open. Your awareness sharpens. The cycle continues. You do not measure time. You do not need to. The repetition itself marks its passage. Another reflective insight from historical observation suggests that travelers often lost their sense of hours during such nights. Without clear markers, time became fluid, defined only by bodily cycles and environmental changes. You experience that now. The night feels both long and still, endless, yet contained within each moment. You shift again, a small adjustment, a slight change in pressure. Your body continues to respond to the ground, to the cold, to the need for circulation. The hollow you created still holds. The snow remains firm beneath you. The arrangement continues to support your posture, allowing these small movements without disruption. You breathe, in and out. The rhythm remains steady. Another traveller stirs nearby. A faint movement, a soft exhale, then stillness again. These small disturbances echo your own cycles, each person moving through the night in their own pattern, yet all sharing the same conditions. You remain within your own rhythm, fragment by fragment, rest by rest, awareness by awareness. A final observation from historical study suggests that this way of sleeping, though incomplete, allowed travelers to endure multiple nights without full rest. It was not sustainable forever, but it was enough to continue. You understand that now. You do not seek perfect sleep. You accept what comes, and as your body continues its quiet cycle, drifting and returning, adjusting and holding, you begin to feel a subtle shift once more. Not comfort, not relief, but continuity. The night moves forward, and so do you. You remain within your hollow, your body moving through its quiet cycle of rest and awareness. The rhythm has become familiar, almost predictable, even as the night itself remains unchanged. The cold continues to press gently but firmly against you, and your breathing stays steady, measured, controlled. Then something shifts, not within you this time. Around you, you sense it first in the air, a subtle change almost too faint to notice. The stillness that has held the night begins to loosen, replaced by a slight movement that brushes lightly against your cloak. It is not strong, but it is new. You open your eyes. The darkness remains, but it feels less settled than before. The air carries a different quality now, as if something is beginning to move across the landscape. A commonly accepted observation about winter weather patterns suggests that conditions can change quickly, especially during the night. A calm stretch may give way to wind snowfall or shifting temperatures with little warning. You listen. The sound of the wind grows slightly, not loud, not yet, but more consistent than before. It moves across the surface of the snow with a soft, continuous whisper, replacing the earlier stillness with a gentle motion. You feel it against your face. Cooler, sharper. You adjust your cloak, instinctively pulling it tighter around your shoulders, raising it slightly to protect your face. The fabric responds, holding its place, though the air now tests it more persistently. A lesser-mentioned detail from historical accounts suggests that experienced travellers often watched for these subtle changes, recognizing early signs of shifting weather. The ability to respond quickly could determine how well they endured the rest of the night. You shift slightly. Your body tightens, its posture becoming more compact, more focused on preserving warmth. Your knees draw closer. Your hands press deeper beneath your cloak. The animal beside you reacts as well. A small movement, a shift of weight. Its breathing remains steady, but its posture changes slightly, turning more directly into the wind. You follow that instinct, turning just enough to align your body in the same direction, reducing the area exposed to the moving air. The wind grows stronger, still not harsh, but steady enough to matter. It moves around you, slipping into small openings, testing the edges of your clothing, finding any place where warmth might escape. You respond, adjusting, holding. A thoughtful interpretation from historical study suggests that wind often posed a greater challenge than cold alone. Moving air carried heat away more quickly, making even moderate temperatures feel far more severe. You feel that now. The cold deepens. Not dramatically, but enough to notice. You press your cloak tighter, ensuring that no gaps remain. Your posture becomes even more deliberate, each movement designed to reduce exposure as much as possible. Snow begins to shift, not falling from the sky, but lifting slightly from the ground, carried by the wind in faint drifting patterns. It moves across the surface in thin layers, brushing lightly against your clothing. You close your eyes briefly, then open them again. The movement continues, subtle but constant. The landscape feels less still, more active, as if the night itself has awakened. A curious observation from historical interpretation suggests that travellers often describe these moments as the most difficult when conditions changed without warning and required immediate adjustment. You understand that now. You do not wait. You act. Small movements. Careful. You press deeper into your hollow, allowing the packed snow around you to shield you more effectively. Your body lowers slightly, reducing your profile against the wind. Your hands remain close. Your feet pressed together. Your breathing steady. Another traveller shifts nearby. You hear the movement, feel the change in the air as they adjust their position. Others follow, not in coordination but in response to the same conditions. The group adapts, quietly, without words. A reflective insight from historical understanding suggests that shared experience often guided collective behaviour in such moments. Each person responding individually, yet creating a broader pattern of adaptation. You feel that pattern now. The space around you changes, slightly shaped by these movements, each person seeking a better position against the wind. The animal beside you lowers its head. Its body becomes more compact, conserving heat. You lean slightly closer, allowing its presence to shield part of your side from the moving air. The difference is immediate. Small, but real. The wind continues. Stay! Persistent. You focus on your breathing again, in and out, maintaining rhythm despite the changing conditions. Another interpretation from historical study suggests that maintaining internal stability was crucial when external conditions shifted. The body's rhythm provided a constant even when the environment did not. You hold that rhythm now. The night feels different, more active, more demanding. Yet within it you remain steady, guided by the habits you have built, the adjustments you have practiced. You close your eyes again, not for long. The movement of air prevents deeper rest, but it does not stop you from finding brief moments of recovery. The snow continues to drift. The wind continues to move. The cold continues to press. Yet you remain, adapting, responding. enduring. And as the night shifts around you, you begin to understand something that does not need to be spoken. Stillness is not guaranteed, but balance can be maintained. You remain pressed into your hollow, your body compact, your cloak drawn tightly around you as the wind continues its steady movement across the land. The night no longer feels still. It feels active, shifting in subtle ways that demand your attention. Your breathing stays controlled, in and out, measured against the rhythm of the wind. After some time, you begin to notice a change that feels different from all the others. The darkness softens, not suddenly, not clearly, but gradually, as if the sky itself is beginning to release its hold on the night. You open your eyes more fully, allowing them to adjust once again. The horizon appears, faint, a slight thinning of the darkness, almost imperceptible at first. The stars above seem less sharp, their brightness softened by a distant light that has not yet reached the ground. Morning is approaching. A widely accepted observation of winter travel notes that dawn often arrives slowly, especially under cold, clear conditions. The transition from night to day is not immediate but drawn out, allowing the world to shift in stages. You feel that shift now. The air remains cold, the wind continues, yet something within the atmosphere has changed. You move slightly. Your body responds to the new awareness, preparing in a way that feels instinctive. The long stretch of night, with its careful balance of rest and alertness, begins to give way to the next phase. You are no longer only enduring, you're preparing to rise. A lesser discussed detail from historical accounts suggests that travellers often began to stir before full light, using the earlier signs of dawn to prepare themselves for movement. Waiting too long could mean losing valuable time, especially in winter, when daylight hours were limited. You shift your legs. Slowly, the stiffness is immediate. Your joints resist at first, the result of long stillness and cold. You press your feet together, then extend them slightly, testing their responsiveness. The sensation returns in stages, accompanied by a dull ache that spreads gently through your limbs. You sit up a little more. Your back lifts from the hollow, and the air reaches you more directly. It feels colder in this position, sharper against your face and neck. You adjust your cloak quickly, ensuring it remains close. The wind brushes past. Steady, unchanged. Yet the light continues to grow. You notice the shapes around you becoming clearer, the outlines of the other travellers, the forms of the animals, the rise of earth behind you. Everything emerges slowly from shadow into faint definition. A thoughtful interpretation from historical study suggests that dawn often brought both relief and challenge. While light improved visibility and lifted some of the uncertainty of the night, it also required immediate action after a period of limited rest. You feel both now, relief and effort. You rub your hands together, firmly. The motion restores circulation, bringing warmth back into your fingers more quickly than before. You repeat the movement, then press your hands against your chest again, holding that warmth close. Another traveller begins to move. You hear the shift of fabric, the quiet sound of someone rising from the ground. Others follow, not all at once, but gradually, each responding to the same growing light. The group awakens, quietly, without urgency yet with purpose. A curious note from historical observation suggests that travellers often spoke very little at dawn, focusing instead on preparing themselves and their belongings. The need to move replaced the need to speak. You feel that now. There is no conversation, only movement. You adjust your pack, lifting it slightly, testing its weight before settling it back down. Your body is not fully ready, but it begins to remember the rhythm of travel. The animal beside you raises its head, its breath still visible in the cold air. It shifts its weight, preparing in its own way for the day ahead. You watch it briefly, then return to your own movements. Another perspective from historical understanding suggests that mornings after exposure to cold were often marked by stiffness and fatigue, yet travellers relied on motion to restore warmth and function. You begin that process now, slowly, deliberately. You stand, carefully. Your legs support you, though not without effort. The ground beneath your feet feels solid, familiar, yet your body takes a moment to adjust to being upright again. You straighten slightly, not fully, just enough. The wind meets you more directly now, but the growing light offsets it in a subtle way. The world feels less enclosed, less uncertain, even as the cold remains unchanged. You take a step, then another. Small movements designed to bring life back into your limbs. The stiffness begins to ease, replaced by a gradual return of control. The horizon brightens further. The sky shifts from deep darkness to a muted grey, then to a faint suggestion of colour that spreads slowly across the distance. Morning continues to arrive. A final reflective insight from historical study suggests that surviving the night was only part of the challenge. The ability to rise and continue despite fatigue and cold defined the success of the journey. You understand that now. You have endured the night, but the journey continues. You gather your things, adjust your cloak, prepare to move. The night fades behind you not suddenly, but in quiet stages, leaving only the memory of what it required. And as you stand there surrounded by others who have endured the same long hours, you feel a subtle shift within yourself. Not relief, not comfort, but readiness. The road waits, and you are still on it. You stand in the pale wash of early morning, your body slowly remembering movement after long hours of careful stillness. The sky continues to brighten in quiet stages, and the shapes around you become clearer with each passing moment. The night has released its hold, though its effects remain. Your legs feel heavy, not from a single effort, but from the accumulation of many small ones. Every adjustment, every moment of tension, every fragment of rest has left its trace. You take another step, then another, allowing your body to find its rhythm again. The road stretches ahead, unchanged, yet you feel different upon it. A well-established understanding of medieval journeys highlights how repeated exposure to harsh conditions wore down even the most prepared travellers. Fatigue did not arrive all at once. It built slowly, layer by layer, often unnoticed, until it became difficult to ignore. You feel that layering now, not overwhelming, but present. You adjust the strap of your pack across your shoulder, shifting the weight slightly to ease the pressure. The motion is familiar, yet it requires more effort than it did before. Your body responds, but with a quiet resistance that was not there earlier. The air remains cold. Morning has not warmed it yet. Each breath still carries that sharp edge, though it feels less severe than during the deepest part of the night. The light changes your perception, even if the temperature has not changed. You walk, slowly at first. Your feet find the path, guided by memory and habit. The ground remains firm beneath you, the frost holding it steady. Snow lingers along the edges, reflecting the growing light. Behind you, others begin to move as well, not in a group, but in the same direction. A reflective interpretation from historical study suggests that travellers often resumed their journeys independently after shared nights, their temporary proximity dissolving without formal parting. The road continued, and each person followed their own purpose. You feel that quiet separation now. No words are exchanged. No gestures made. The connection was brief, necessary. Now it fades. You continue forward. Your body warms slightly with movement, though not quickly. The stiffness in your limbs begins to ease, replaced by a slow return of flexibility. Your hands feel more responsive, your steps more certain, yet the fatigue remains, a subtle presence. A lesser-known observation from historical writings suggests that long journeys often involved a kind of cumulative weariness, where each night without proper rest added to the next day's burden. Travellers adapted, but the effect never fully disappeared. You experience that now. Your body continues, but it carries the memory of the night. You notice your thought moving more slowly, not unfocused, but quieter. The sharp awareness you held through the night softens into a more relaxed state, though it never fully disappears. You remain attentive, but without the same intensity. The landscape opens slightly. The road leads through a wider stretch of land where the horizon feels more distant. The light spreads evenly, now revealing more detail with each step. Low vegetation, scattered stones, the faint lines of paths crossing the main road. You breathe deeply. The air feels different in motion. Less still, more alive. Another perspective from historical understanding suggests that movement itself restored both warmth and clarity after cold nights. The act of walking reawakened the body, bringing circulation back to areas that had grown numb or stiff. You feel that change, gradual, steady. Your pace increases slightly, Not fast, but more confident. The rhythm of your steps becomes more consistent, each one reinforcing the next. The fatigue does not vanish, but it becomes easier to carry as your body re-engages with the journey. You glance ahead. The road continues without visible end, yet it no longer feels uncertain in the same way. Daylight brings a sense of direction even when the destination remains unknown. A curious detail noted in historical interpretation suggests that travellers often measured their endurance not by distance alone, but by the number of nights they could sustain such conditions. Each completed night marked a quiet success. You understand that now? The night behind you is part of that measure. You carry it with you, not as weight, but as experience. You adjust your cloak again, loosening it slightly as your body warms with movement. The balance shifts no longer, focused solely on conserving heat but on maintaining comfort while walking. Your hands emerge briefly from beneath the fabric. The air touches them cool but no longer biting. You flex your fingers, testing their strength. They respond more easily now, the stiffness reduced. Another traveller passes at a distance. No greeting, no acknowledgement, just movement. Each person continues in their own way, shaped by the same night yet following separate paths. You remain on yours. A final reflective insight from historical study suggests that long journeys required not only physical endurance but a quiet acceptance of repetition. Night followed, day and day followed night, each cycle demanding similar adjustments, similar responses. You feel that cycle now. The pattern has begun, the road beneath you, the sky above you. The rhythm within you, all moving together. You take another step, then another. The cold remains as the air, but your body generates its own warmth, now supported by motion, by breath, by the simple act of continuing forward. And as you walk, carrying both the fatigue and the quiet strength gained from the night, you begin to understand something that settles gently within you. Endurance is not a single act. It is a series of moments, each one carried into the next. You continue along the winter road, your steps now steadier, your body gradually finding its rhythm again, under the pale light of morning. The night behind you feels both distant and close, its memory carried quietly in your muscles, your breath, your awareness. The sky brightens. Soft grey gives way to a lighter tone spreading across the horizon with gentle persistence. The land around you becomes clearer, revealing details that were hidden just hours before. The path ahead, the edges of the road, the faint marks left by others who passed before you. You walk, not quickly, but with purpose. A widely recognised understanding of medieval travel reminds us that journeys like this were not defined by comfort or certainty, but by continuation. Progress, even slow progress, was the measure that mattered most. You feel that truth now. Each step holds meaning, not dramatic, not heroic, but necessary. Your body carries the memory of the night, the cold, the stillness, the careful balance between rest and awareness. It has changed how you move, how you think, how you respond. You adjust your cloak once more, loosening it slightly as warmth builds through movement. The air still carries a chill, but it no longer feels as sharp as it did in darkness. Light changes everything, even when temperature does not. The road continues. It always does. A thoughtful interpretation from historical study suggests that travellers often remembered these nights not for their hardship alone, but for the quiet lessons they carried. Lessons about the body, the environment, and the small decisions that shape survival. You understand that now. You have learned without being taught. You have adapted without instruction. The landscape opens further. Fields stretch out, touched lightly by a frost, their surfaces reflecting the growing light. The wind has softened, no longer pressing against you with the same persistence. The air feels more stable, more settled. You breathe deeply. The air enters your lungs with a familiar coolness, but it no longer feels overwhelming. Your body has adjusted, finding its own balance within the environment. A curious observation from historical reflection notes that many travellers developed a quiet confidence after enduring nights like this. Not pride, but a steady understanding of what they could withstand. You feel that now, not as a sudden realization, but as a calm presence. You continue forward. Your steps become more fluid, your posture more relaxed. The stiffness in your limbs fades further, replaced by a steady, sustainable movement. Behind you, the place where you rested disappears from view. It leaves no mark, no sign, only memory. Another perspective from historical understanding suggests that the traces of such nights rarely remained in the landscape. Snow-covered impressions wind erase small disturbances and the road returned to its quiet state. You accept that. What mattered was not what remained behind, but what continued forward. You walk. The rhythm settles fully now. Step, breath, step, breath. The pattern becomes almost meditative, a steady repetition that carries you onward without strain. Your mind drifts slightly not into sleep, but into a softer awareness, one that allows thought without effort. A final reflective insight from historical study suggests that endurance over time becomes part of identity. Not something separate, but something integrated, shaping how a person moves through the world. You feel that integration now. The night was not separate from you. It is part of you. You carry it quietly, without weight, without resistance. The road stretches ahead unchanged, yet filled with possibility. Somewhere beyond the horizon there may be shelter, warmth, rest that does not require negotiation. Or perhaps another night like the last awaits. You do not know, and that uncertainty no longer feels heavy. You continue, steady, aware, balanced. The cold remains in the air, but it no longer defines you. It is simply one part of the world. You move through one element among many. You draw your cloak closer once more, not from urgency, but from habit. The motion feels natural, part of the rhythm you've developed. Your breath rises gently in the cool air. Your steps carry you forward. The light continues to grow. And as you move along this quiet winter road, you begin to feel the edges of fatigue soften, replaced by a calm steadiness that comes from having endured, adapted, and continued. The night has passed. The journey remains. You walk on, slowly, quietly, and in this gentle continuation, the world around you begins to feel less like something to overcome and more like something to move through. One step at a time, your breathing deepens, the rhythm steadies further, the landscape stretches out calm and open under the growing light. You allow your thoughts to settle, to soften, to drift. The road carries you forward without resistance and your body follows without strain. The memory of cold fades slightly, replaced by a quiet warmth that comes not from the air but from within. You are still moving, still present, still here. The journey continues, but the urgency has softened into something gentler, something quieter, something that allows your mind to rest even as your body walks. And as the light fully settles across the land, you feel yourself ease into that calm, steady rhythm, where each step becomes softer, each breath slower, each moment quieter than the last. Sleep well.